Want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm James Bailey from Cardenas from 389 Cav. He drove me around as the XO, the Troop XO, quite a bit. Did my 3 years active duty at Fort Polk. Got out, went to the reserves, went to logistics in the reserves, moved back to Ohio, and then did some inspector general time with the 310th and deployed with them to Kuwait. When then got out and medically retired last July.
Oh.
So as a major, so here I am.
So, sir, I got a question for you. What made you join the military?
So in 2008, I had a job at DHL in logistics in Wilmington, and they moved back down to Cincinnati. And I just graduated college and didn't have a whole lot of experience. Got a job at Comair as a stepping stone after being in international logistics at DHL. Did a U.S. Customs audit for them, finished the audit, and then trained somebody to do my job. And they were like, all right, thanks for all you did. Thanks for your service, and sent me on my way after we passed the audit and got through like a 2-year audit with them. In 2008, the jobs were bad. My buddy just joined the Army. So I was like, I'll try that. I was working like nights at Technicolor, worked nights all through college. I was tired of working nights. I was like, I can go do something a lot cooler than release keys to a movie theater on whatever movie they're watching. So I had my college degree, but I rode my motorcycle up. I had like my head shaved and a big beard and rode it up to the recruiter's office. And I was like, I want to join the Army. And I was like, I want to go officer. And they're like, what? They're like, it was like early March, and I'm wearing like a motorcycle leather jacket, chaps and stuff. And they're like, let's see it. Let's see that degree. So I had to like prove it to them and stuff. I didn't look like, I guess a normal officer candidate. So mostly just because the job market was so bad in 2008 and stuff. I needed to do in 2009. I needed to do something different, and the military was a good spot for me. So that's
how old were you when you joined?
I was 27.
You joined late.
I went to basic training at 27 years old, and then straight to officer candidate school after that at Fort Benning.
How was that for you, basic training?
Basic training was really easy for me because I knew what to expect. I knew what the drill sergeants were trying to do, but I'd never done anything like that. I never really left home. But as far as just showing up and doing what they say, I could do that pretty easy and just get over the games. But yeah, basic training wasn't that intense, but it was interesting to see how the younger people went through and developed and dealt with some of that stuff and grew from like the beginning of basic training to the end.
So were you one of the oldest one in your group?
There was one guy. There was like a couple of reservists that I think have been in the Army before and had to redo basic because they had like a separation in time and service.
Mm-hmm.
Harris was probably like 35 or something.
Oh wow!
And they're like he was right at the limit, I think. And he was an older guy, but yeah, I was definitely one of the older ones in there.
So are you the first generation military in your family?
My grandpa served in World War II and walked across Europe, and then my uncle Brent was in the Air Force in Vietnam, worked on airplanes on the bombers.
Okay, you think that influenced a little bit of joining?
Maybe a little bit. I don't know. My grandpa was super proud of my service and stuff. Probably a lot more than I was. And it means everything I did meant a lot to him, especially like being an officer, because he was a private and he worked his way up to sergeant in World War II. And then this could be hearsay, but he got busted down in rank. He took a Jeep out and had some girls in it and got like a DUI in Europe and stuff. And they busted him down in rank. So he worked his way up to sergeant a couple times.
Hey, that's the way to lose a ring, man.
Yeah.
That's the best way. Can't be
Yeah,
mad at
that's
that
what I
one.
thought.
Uh, so right after basic training, you say you go to officer school?
Yeah, I went to officer candidate school at Fort Benning, Georgia. Like four of us, we went into basic training as a specialist, and that kind of you had to deal with like some people were judging you and like expecting you to be at a certain level as a specialist and like, oh, why is he an E4? So I didn't really kind of worried about messing up and looking, as dumb as I really am. But so we go to all four of us went to Fort Benning after basic training and started there. And then you become a candidate and they take off your specialist rank and give you a candidate, like a circle, I think it was, or something. And then you do that at officer candidate school. And it was hot at Fort Benning. I almost recycled out a couple times. I got bit by a spider and like tried to cut out like the spider bite infection with a knife, like in a porta john or something. And it got all infected and worse. And like I got this fever and passed out and about medical recycled at my
Wow.
at officer candidate school, which I didn't. I got back in the field. They're like, just take this. They gave me some ibuprofen or something or antibiotics, and I was able to continue with the field. We were in a field exercise at the time, but it was I still got a scar on my leg from it.
Damn.
Doing dumb stuff, like I didn't know it was getting affected. I didn't know anything about that.
You thought you were Rumble, huh?
Yeah.
So right after officer school, how did they give you your orders? You get to pick where you want to go.
Yeah, so you get a say in where you want to go, and I'll never forget this. So you branched, and my buddy was showing me this video of like all the scouts are, like, oh, you're wearing ghillie suits and riding dirt bikes, and which is exactly what we didn't do at Fort Polk. But so I branched armor and wanted to be a Cav Scout because my buddy Stodgill was branching armor, and we wanted to be Cav Scouts and stuff. We kind of had similar type of personality. He was an older kid, and then you get to pick where you want to go, and you write where you want to go on this piece of paper. Your top 3 choices. So I wrote down like Hawaii, Fort Carson, I don't know, some other place, and the 3 guys before me got my top 3 choices in order because we're sitting in alphabetical order, like in this hall where we had classes. And then I got Fort Polk, Louisiana. And my instructors are like, oh, you're going to the training unit down there. There's not even an active unit. They didn't even know. My instructor, the cadre at armor school and stuff, didn't know that there was a combat unit. They didn't know 410 was down there. So I didn't really know that 410 was down there until I got down there and met a favorite human being of yours, Sergeant Brandon Thornsberry.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Thornsberry was the one that received you?
Yeah, Sergeant Thornsberry received me. Yeah, and he'd been there like 2 weeks before I got there.
Yeah.
So
How was that getting to Fort Polk?
What's that?
How was that getting to Fort Polk?
Fort Polk was that was wild. We didn't know what to expect. I just finished Army reconnaissance course. My family had come down there and like saw me off with I just newly married. Right after I got done with Army reconnaissance school in that fall, and then after we got married, we went down to like Fort Polk and then met Thornsberry, and I did PT with just him and I for like a week or two, and then deployed and met the unit late in Afghanistan. So that was my experience at Fort Polk. Nobody was there. There was a captain, I can't remember his name, on Rear D, and he was like, I got a meeting with the boss that's forward, stuff like that. He didn't care. He's just ready to send Thornsberry and me on our way.
So right after basic training, ended up going to Afghanistan, huh? How was that for you?
Yeah. I'm really blessed to have met Sergeant Thornsberry and laid deployed with him because, I mean, we went to Manus and we did all that stuff together. We're in the same boat, and I think he'd been deployed before. And as like an E5, like I think what helped me as an officer, knowing to listen to, the NCOs and even like a high, like this enlisted, because you guys got life and spirit experience too. And that really helped me just being with him and going through the same stuff and getting his like take on stuff. I'm like, oh, that's no big deal. This is kind of a big deal, and this is what you need to do. Don't listen to them. So Thornsberry really set me up for success.
That's not bad at all. That's pretty
Yeah,
good. I didn't know
yeah,
this about you.
yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. So once you got to Afghanistan, how was that first experience getting over there overseas?
Um, it was wild. Like I just got like a new helmet or something, and I was trying to like get my strap right on it, and I was still like messing with it, getting off the bird, walking on the fob airborne. Colonel Chambers meets me, and he's like, "Your strap's wrong backwards." And I was like, "Oh, great! You know, we're making great first impressions." So I was definitely that butter bar. I remember that about my helmet strap. But they put me on PSD on the personnel security detachment for Colonel Chambers and Sergeant Major Semarina with Joe Capon and Sergeant Jason Roberts and Cirillo, and then Roki was my FSO. Um, so we had a great team of guys there on the PSD. So and Joe Capon, I knew to listen to him. Like when you meet Joe Capon, like
Oh yeah.
I'm going to listen to this guy.
Oh yeah.
And Sergeant Rob wasn't a fan of me when I met him, and I think we vacationed with him twice now, like at Disney, because he lives down there, like outside of Orlando, and so we would go down there and we're like, "Hey, Rob, what are you doing?" So we meet up with him, and we've seen Sergeant Capon since and stuff. But yeah, the guys definitely knew what they were doing, and all I had to do was listen, and not act like I knew everything. So for me, that was easy. And I was really blessed with the guys that I got put with.
How long you were in Afghanistan for?
6 months.
6 months.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
All right. Yeah, because I remember Sarah Capon was with us during our time in Cap Durrani, and once we moved to Cap Conlin, that's when we didn't see him no more. So that's
Yeah.
probably whenever he went over there with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So man, I guess you were just like me. Straight from basic training to Afghanistan, and let's see how it goes. Huh?
Yeah. I had no
Once
idea
you got,
what it would be like in the rear once we got back.
so how was it once you got back?
It was different. It was a weird op tempo. Everybody that I'd met and bonded with was switching out. Rob was leaving. Luckily, I think Capon that's stabilized was staying at Polk, was going to retire there. But like Cirillo, Manis, Private Brandon, Connect, all those guys in the PSD were leaving. Like they were ETSing. I don't remember if there might have been like a couple that were going to different units, but I think that all of them were like ETSing on their way out, which might have been why they're in the PSD. But,
Yeah.
Yeah, that was weird for me. So I had to start making new connections with like Sergeant Will or Sergeant Lopez. I had to go from the HHC, got moved to Alpha Troop, and go through that transition and meet like all new people again and like a whole new battle rhythm, because we went through the rear D where everybody was relaxing, and I was like, let's do Army stuff, because I didn't have any of that experience. So I was like, what is this? And everybody's switching out and new people were coming in. It was really a weird time getting back from that deployment. I remember like people were having like episodes like the Walmart parking lot, somebody's cut them off in traffic and they'd lose their shit. They'd be like, what are you doing? You don't cut me off in the Walmart. And you gotta tell them, just relax, That's Leesville.
So how do you end up in an assassin troop? Do you pick assassin troop, or they send you out there?
Put me there based on like Captain Gilchrist was over there, First Sergeant Boost, and Sergeant Capon had that relationship. But I think they kind of thought that like I had a fit there based on just the personnel grouping that trained me up and rotated me into that. So I think that's how I ended up there. I don't know. A good question for
So what platoon you ended up going with?
I ended up going to White Platoon. I took over for Lieutenant Pham, and took over his position as White 1. got a new platoon sergeant who I've heard some people talk about on your show, and then he didn't last long. He got rotated out, and then Sergeant Finnegan got honored to step up to the plate and be the platoon sergeant. So I had him and Sergeant Watson and Sergeant Haas, and those guys were all fantastic.
Yeah.
So, really got lucky again. I got lucky, I think, like every time with who they put me with, to make me look good.
Now I believe it's the way you approach the situation, because it's like I was saying before, all officers, they come in trying to tell us what to do, especially after we come back from deployment, and trying to like be on your face. And I like, man, one of the things that I do remember is Lieutenant Manning, when he first came
Yeah,
in, like we didn't know what to expect. Like we were ready to tear his ass up. Like, we got up in the cage, we sent the Joes out. I was a specialist at the time, and they're like, we need to stay over here and greet this butter bar real quick.
yeah,
And then Lieutenant Manning was very humble. He's like, look, guys, I'm supposed to be in charge of y'all, but I really don't know much about it. I just got out of college. I'm here for y'all to train me.
yeah,
Once he said that, I was like, boom, we take care of you, sir. That's it. That's that we wanted to see what was gonna be the attitude. And with that attitude, like we took care of the guy. So it was,
dude.
you know, yeah, man. So how does it feel like, well, after that deployment, do you have any other deployments?
I went to Kuwait in the reserves as a deputy inspector general for a 1-star,
Okay.
and did that, and that was way different because you're just listening to, like, you're the complaint department, and like, oh, and people be like, oh, Cardenas isn't treating me with respect, and you'd have to tie it to a regulation and fill out all this paperwork and do the investigation, and we did all kinds of stuff with people there, and like some of them cared and some of them didn't care. Like, I don't care, I'll do what I want. But before that, like as an inspector general in the reserves, like we'd travel around to the different units and kind of audit what they're doing and tell them what rights look like. We got to research the regulations a lot, and we set our own schedule. So if we were done at 3:00, guess what? We were leaving at 3:00 and going back to the hotel room or back to our house. We weren't sticking around till 1800 for Captain Cardenas to get back and tell us it was good to go home. And I love that about that aspect of being an inspector general.
So whenever you decided to join the military and decided to win officer, do you ever thought about the responsibility that you were gonna have?
Um, no, I just always assume that I can handle it. And I guess part of me, like when I got out, there was an issue with how we were doing another training for the second Afghanistan deployment. There was an issue with how like the 9 line was being called up, and like you said, like that responsibility that I had, like I couldn't see myself going to somebody's family and telling them like, hey, your soldier didn't make it because we were arguing with higher about how a 9 line was going up. So like I turned in my packet to the brigade commander like on the spot. And I remember being really upset and going down to the motor pool, and I think it was Major Juarez was like, hey, just chill out. And I was hot. They were just like, did not just arguing with us at Assassin Troop about how that 9 line was to go up. And it really bothered me. And then, so I probably took the easy way out, but I cut that responsibility real quick. And I was like, I'm not going through that.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that as an officer, well, we didn't get. I think we did experience it, but it will be more in your hands, like making decisions. Because at the end of the day, is lives of people. Like
Mm-hmm.
one wrong decision, it can cost someone's life. And like I was telling my guys, like to me, I didn't let them deploy by themselves when we were in Cuba when they split the units because I wasn't gonna be with them. But as an officer, is more than few people. Like he's the whole unit. So
Yeah.
that's one of the things that I always thought about. Like if you think about what's consequences on those decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to do that
Yeah.
in DMP.
Yeah. Yeah. So once you when do you get out of Fort Polk?
Ooh, 2013
2013.
ish.
Yeah, and then you ended up going. You say reserves.
Yeah, we went to the reserves, and the reserve transition NCO wasn't at Fort Polk when I got out. So I went into the IRR and what is in the reserves just because that person wasn't at Fort Polk to do their job when I got out. So I had to find somebody in the reserves where I was going to and have them take me back in, pull me back into the reserves out of the IRR. So like I lost a day or something. It's really weird. It messed up a lot of paperwork for like 3 years.
Really?
Yeah.
So, what was your job in the reserves?
Started out as a logistics officer. They'd have me be like a battalion 4, battalion assistant 3, operations officer, or battalion log officer. But really, you just made sure the soldiers are good. You wasn't really doing anything that was operational job wise until you were at your AT or your training exercise. And starting out, I was in a training battalion on Rear D, and there was like 12 of us going to this training, and they just have us do PT, and then you just do your mandatory training every month. It was awful. But people like forget their belts and stuff and coming off active duty or like a brown t-shirt. I remember like my first or second drill in Coriopolis, the battalion commander, the lieutenant colonel, forgot like his undershirt. He was just going around with his ACU top on with this like his chest hair hanging out and stuff. It was wild. I was like, what are we doing? Because I was with Joe Capon and you guys for so long, and it was just took me so long. Like if you forget that stuff, you got probably an hour drive home and an hour drive back to the unit, to make it right. Like that stuff's not readily available. So it's just a mindset change.
How was that for you? Like, going from assassin troop to that.
It was wild. Like I think I had some difficulty adjusting to it until eventually I just realized this is it. This is what it is, and it's all these people got regular jobs and they're doing this on the weekend the best they can, and they're trying to manage a family and do all this other stuff. But like when you go to do your job and get out there and do it, like a lot of them, from what I've seen, all stepped up to the plate. But you like the op tempo is so slow until it's not, and then it's like regular, a regular job, and it's just hard to maintain everything you need to maintain at like a zero op tempo.
So, let me ask you a question. How was the transition for you from the old military to the new military?
From the old military, from what was it,
Well,
Fort Polk to what it is
yeah.
now. It was different. It was a lot. It was something. I had to change my mindset a little bit, and you got to lead people different ways. And I think being in the inspector general really helped me with that, just because of the schooling that they gave you and the ask why. But before that, I was just like I couldn't get over like what people were doing and why they like wouldn't go get like their annual medical checkup in the reserves. It's just because like they didn't want to, and you're dealing with kids that are barely in the reserves in the Army. And then we'll have to manage them by sending the police to their house to check on if they're alive because they're not calling their first line leader. So you got to have good NCOs on the reserve side too that know like the reservists or the National Guard issues, or else like if you go to it from active duty, you could tell like it just burns them up, and it'll burn people out really quick because you can't manage the same way. It's a whole different management style dealing with that, and you kind of gotta play within your rules um, to be successful. And if you don't, it's not going to look good on your metrics when you go to briefing. So, and that's what it's all about, is making those numbers and everybody look green and everybody doing what they're supposed to and getting their flu shots. And resiliency training and all that great stuff.
How hard it was to adjust. Like, I'm gonna be because I wanna
What am I
talk
going to
about what I
yell at
went through.
Lieutenant Colonel about not wearing his brown T-shirt underneath his ACUs in front of like the guys? He's just like, this is what it is, and I'm a first lieutenant still, and he's a '05. So I just let it go. It's not my place to rank wise. Well, I have like my view and opinion of like his character, and I'm sure everybody else does too. But like that's all I can do. Like that's
Yeah.
things we're dealing with.
Yeah, no, I had to get out. I couldn't handle it anymore. I didn't even finish my time. Like
Yeah.
my commander literally just like, all right. He cut my orders and I was out of the military. I didn't even have to do an active reserve. Like they cut me off right there and then. I only did I believe 3 or 4 months of reserves and I was out. Because I told him straight up I couldn't it
Yeah.
was not gonna happen.
This ain't good for you, and it's not good for them.
Yeah. Yeah. So man, I can imagine as an officer, like, and the thing is, like, I was correcting officer, like you said,
Yeah.
I was correcting officers, and
Right.
I got in trouble for doing my job. Like,
Yeah.
how
It's
am
just
I gonna get in
repetitive
trouble for
having
doing my
fun.
job?
What do you want from me? I can't rewrite the policy or the reg for you, sir. For me.
Yeah, I was like, man, that's crazy. But man, that was an eye opening. Before, well, let me jump a little bit. When we're talking, you were saying that you got a nonprofit organization.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What was the?
So I have a nonprofit organization called Big Time Faith, and we're on Facebook, and we have a website, bigtimefaith.org, and that is recreational therapy to help veterans and active duty nurses and first responders with recreational therapy like jiu-jitsu or hunting or fishing, to deal with their mental health issues. In jiu-jitsu, I had delayed onset PTSD. Um, I think 2 years ago now. But jujitsu really helped me with it. Stay present because you're thinking about like I'll be thinking about what I'm doing and and Cardenas's next move instead of like running where I'm like, man, I got to pay that bill, and I don't like running anyways. So, but jujitsu really helped me be present and not think about what happened in Afghanistan. And I didn't have a whole lot of action, but this little boy or girl got hit on our way to pick up a reporter on a big important mission to pick up this reporter from the Stars and Stripes at the Kabul airport. This little kid got hit stepping into traffic, holding their older sibling's hand, and there's blood and stuff, and killed him. And like civilians are right there, and we talked about it as the PSD if we should stop or not, and we didn't stop because we didn't want pictures of us taken with a dead child. Was the decision made at the time on the ground and movement. And for years I always thought that was the right decision, because it didn't set anybody up to get hurt in our unit, and it didn't sway the hearts and minds of the Afghan people. And then when they started going through Ukraine on the news and stuff, and talking about like civilian hospitals and getting hit and stuff and kids, one night I just froze up and I was like, "Ugh." I couldn't breathe, I couldn't talk, and like I don't know where it came from. It was like 12 something from 12 years ago, locked me up, and I couldn't function. I couldn't get a phone call out. It was super difficult for me. So I've gone to like the VA for counseling, go to a personal counselor that I have here where I live, and was going every week for an hour, and taking medicine for it to help with it. I had to come off on ADHD medicine. I had to come off the ADHD medicine because it was ramping up like my depression and stuff. I just want to like lay in the closet, like curl up and like freeze up. So Big Time Faith is to help people with their mental health issues in kind of a different way, whether you like doing like you do, like you like doing cars and stuff, or we try to do encompass all that. Anything that you can think of that helps resolve your issues, it probably helps somebody else resolve their issues, and we just need to introduce them to it. And we also offset like mental health counseling costs, like if they're VA community care or TRICARE doesn't pay for your mental health counseling, or it pays $50, but you can only pay $20 or whatever. We'll pay the other cost. Is our mission. So that's what Big Time Faith does. And there's a lot of organizations out there in different areas, like Warriors Next Adventure. There's one in Tennessee that's escaping me that I just found out about, that has this kind of a similar mission set. The Fallen Outdoors is a great one. I know they have a Team Texas that does like hunting and fishing trips and does different things to get veterans outside in the outdoors, and to do this a similar kind of mission set. So there's a lot of organizations out there like mine that are doing the same thing in maybe just a slightly different way.
What pushed you to start this nonprofit?
I was in a COVID sweat, and it just came to me, like, I was like, I can help other people, just like jiu-jitsu helped me. And so like one middle of the night, I was just laying on the couch, and I was like, Warriors Next Adventure I'd followed, and he's out of Minnesota, Nick Ron, and I'd say he's kind of the pioneer of that nonprofit mission set. And I was like, I can do something similar to that, and I'll just focus on the Dayton area, because it'll just be me, and it'll be small, and it'll be like my little piece to help give back to those that may be going through a similar situation. And I thought I'd open it up to first responders and nurses, because they're probably seeing a lot of the same type of trauma. Firefighters, law enforcement, EMTs. So that's what inspired me to do that.
Man, that's crazy. It is good, like, that you started this, because, like you say, it hit you out of nowhere. It was years after, and man, to be honest with you, is I feel like most of us are like that. Well, like, to me, it was, I didn't want to say anything because no one else said anything. So
Yeah.
I feel like if I say something, I was gonna be a bitch. Like, and it was a couple of guys that were that it was like the third deployment, fourth deployment, and they never complained, they never said anything. So I was like, man, so this is must be normal. Like, I thought that was it. So it hit me. To me, it hit me right after we got out, because it was all this free time. We didn't have nothing to do, so it's just like, well, what else you gonna do? Think about dumb shit that you don't want to think about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so it's like that's what made me go get checked out, get a therapy, and you know, like, this is what you're doing, man. I would love for you to send me some of these links to other organizations.
Okay.
That way we can share them, because again, if we're going through them, a lot of people don't like talking about it. A lot of people hate
No.
talking about it. And I want this channel to be like the place they can go and see that they're not by themselves. They're not dealing with this by themselves. There's gonna be people like you with your organizations helping. I would like to push those resources out. Right now, I'm just putting out a couple of the links. To be honest with you, I only went through the VA. The VA, to me, I don't know if I got blessed or what it was, but everything just fell down like into place, like boom, boom, boom. It was beautiful. I never had any
Good.
problems with the VA.
Did you go directly through the VA, or did you go through a county rep?
I went to see the VA. Well, before you even go to the VA, they got their offices right across. They got their counselors. I went to one of the counselors from the VA, and they sent me to a place. It's called uh, Iraqi Afghans veterans. I
Mhm.
went over there. I talked to them. They pulled me up. They pulled my records, and then they set up my appointments. So I didn't do anything. Like, my counselor sent me to
That's
them.
good.
They set up my appointments. The only thing that I had to do was go get my B8 ID, and that's it. Nothing else. And it's just like, not once I applied for BA benefits or anything. Like, it was, I didn't even know that you can claim a what is it called, disabilities. Like, I didn't know
Yeah.
none of that. I just went because I needed redo my surgery again. I had 3 surgeries already, and everything military connected. And when I started getting benefits from the VA, I got scared because I was like, "Hey, man, you pay me, and I'm out of the military already." They're like, "You're gonna get explanation letter." So I didn't know anything. I was just surprised whenever they start taking care of me like that, and then I started looking it up, and I was like, "Oh wow!" So I guess you can be, you can get benefits after,
Yeah,
your active duty career. But yeah, man, like
it's a
no
lot.
one
It's
told.
very a big knot to undo, and I wouldn't have had the luck that I had without like people helping me through that. Like going because I had to like reapply and get reevaluated, and then had an issue with like crossing that with like military retirement to get and got medically retired after like I couldn't function. I could go to drill and I'd just be like, um, and I know there's probably some active duty NCO there like yourself that was like, what the heck is this guy's problem? So, um, yeah, but with without some guys in the reserves, there's a Sergeant Eisel that helped me a lot through a lot of that stuff. Um, and just after he'd been out for a while and just like being able to reach out to him and like, what is this? They sent me this letter. I don't even know what it means. And he got out as an E6 in the reserves, and I learned stuff from that guy still to this day. It's crazy.
Hey, he just comment right now. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure you can see the comment right there.
Okay. I'll have to go back and look at it later. It disappeared, whatever it said.
Okay, it says one of the finance officers I had the pleasure of serving with, and now seeing him lead a nonprofit is powerful.
Yeah.
Uh,
That sounds like
Joe
something.
Cardenas. Then we got Joe Cardenas. Asking for help is the bravest thing anyone can do.
And going off what Joe said, it's hard as as leading a nonprofit that we have trouble like giving people help. Like even like you see, they're going through a tough time. That might be like going through something personal, money issues, issues with their kids and stuff. And like if I was in that situation, I would not be doing good. Like I know that, and like that's the type of person that big time faith would want to help. And you go to offer them that help, and you know what they do? They're like, I ain't the one. I don't need. I'm good. I'm solid in every way, and I don't need your help. And I'm like, really? You're the exact type of person we're looking to help. So I never expected to be confronted with pride as a way to help. I just thought people would want to do free stuff, and they don't, because then you get like labeled as a stigma. But I tell you what, if you look into most of the homes across America, you'll see mental health issues, whether they're tied to a military or a high stress trauma based job like what we target or not. Like people are still dealing with mental health issues. So the help's out there and people want to help. So we just got to, like Joe said, be brave and like take it.
But the problem with that, Caesar, is that the people that really need the help is the one that they don't want to take the help.
That's right.
I had someone reach out to me, and he's going. I don't want to explain the situation, but he's going through a really tough time. And I reach out to someone else. He's been here before. Master Sergeant Infante, David.
Mm-hmm.
He also got a non-profit organization for autistic kids. But I asked him like, "Hey man, I know what you're doing because of your son, but it's a way that you can help me out to help this person." I reach out to other companies, and we put some together where we were able to help this person out and his family.
And did they know
And
you were helping them, or did you have to like backdoor it?
they say no, they didn't want to take anything. But
Like,
when I tell you, when I had the conversation, he was asking me for help. But
mm-hmm.
someone in the family said, no, we can do these other people that can use that help better than us. And you know how hard like it was for me knowing that I got the resources to give them and I had everything that it can make their life a little better.
Yeah.
and I got turned down. Like that hurt me though, and I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
That
it
was
is
the first and
hurtful.
last time. It was the first and last time I did something like that because I was like, I can't take this, man. Because I put a lot of work into it. I contacted a lot of people, and then they're like, "Well, are you sure they wanted to help, or you were just asking for help?" That kind of made me like, "Damn!" Like, no, that's not what it was. Like, so man, I know what you said. But it's a lot of people that sometimes the people that don't need it is the ones that they want the help the most for some reason. Like, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? I know. So it's hard. It's really hard.
yeah.
Yeah. So what you're doing is salute to you, sir. Like,
Hey, thanks. Yeah, I
yeah.
think I got to figure out a way to like be like sneaky with it, or like over like we're just telling them like, hey, this money's earmarked for you, and if we don't spend it on you, we're gonna lose the money.
I trying to do that. I really did. We trying to do that. We trying to do everything. I had one of the guys told me is like, look, this and this we can do. I reach out to big companies, not little companies. I reach out to big
Yeah,
companies. We got a clothing business, so I deal with a lot of big name brands out there, and I reach out to two of them, and they always back me up. And whenever my help got denied by the person that asked for help, it made me not look too good in front of those companies. So it's like I didn't took anything because I was like, they're like, look, we can give you a check right now. I don't want no checks, nothing on my name. I don't want nothing to be tied up to me. I want you to write the check to this person. They can cash in the check, everything, nothing. So it's like I don't know how you can give help to somebody that needs it but don't want it per
yeah.
se is
Said like when they came to you and asked for help, like maybe like to start that conversation off is to ask them like, do you want to help yourself? Let me ask you that first, and like start those conversations like that. And I think like I'm just figuring that out now talking to you. Maybe I just came up with that, so maybe that'll work. I'm gonna try it the next time and see if that helps.
yeah,
And if they say no, then maybe this ain't gonna work.
yeah,
If
yeah,
they
because at
say
the
yeah,
beginning, I was looking at the situation. I was like, okay, so what help you out, what will put you back on your feet, what can we do, because this is medical, so we had to modify some things in the property, like we had to do modifications, and we got everything. We had to go, and at the end they said no. So I'm like, man, just give that money to someone else that need them.
yeah,
But since I like the checks was on their names and everything, the checks just got canceled. Nothing, because I told him I don't want to be tied up to anything. Like I don't want them to say, "Oh, well, you took." No, I don't want nothing,
right.
nothing to come over to me, And they just cancel everything, and they're like, "Hey, so whatever happened? We never seen those checks going." I like, well, I don't know what
You know
to
what the
tell
hell?
you.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
you
So
help
it's
somebody
like,
who doesn't want to help themselves.
yeah. Yeah, so man, that is crazy. It is good though what you're trying to do. Like I say, it's a lot of people out there. One of the things that I tell people is like you need to keep your mind active. You need to
Yeah,
stay distracted. You need to do something. Because being in a room, just sitting down, doing nothing is not gonna help.
yeah.
So yeah.
Your mind goes crazy.
So
Yeah.
what activities you do on your nonprofit?
Um. So we got jujitsu and yoga are really big. Um. With our current population, we did a hunting trip in a partnership with the Fallen Outdoors, and like I said, they have a team Texas, they have a team Ohio, but they got a team Texas too. I can send you that link when we get off of here. Um, to do like hunting and fishing trips and stuff. We did a duck hunt up on Lake Erie with them with 4 veterans. Um, yeah, jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai, yoga. Those are the big ones right now. We're working with the Hueston Sailing Association, with is a different Houston. It's Houston Woods,
Damn.
but it's sailboats up here on a small lake in the Dayton area, Dayton, Ohio area, uh, to get some people out and get their minds on sailing in nature. It's pretty peaceful. You're just floating on the water, letting the wind blow you around, and they teach you about sailing and stuff. And if you like it, you can keep going. not, you spent the afternoon on a lake in a sailboat. So we're working on some of those avenues. We got another guy that's going to donate some time this summer for he calls it wake surfing. You get behind the boat and surf in the wake of the boat and stuff. So that's what we got in the pipeline for
That's
now.
good. How do you get connected to all these people?
Just talking and asking for, like, if you got a way to help. It doesn't always. Well, the good thing about big time faith, it doesn't always have to be money. It can be,
Time.
like a donation of time or a hobby. Like you got horses or something. Try to bring people out, but we got to have people we need to help too, and that's kind of like you said. That's more challenging than I thought it would be. So
Yeah.
partnered with like Pyramid Health, outside the barn as local counselor. We talked to another place today called Emerge. It's in Xenia, Ohio. It's like an on-campus mental health and does like art therapy and music therapy and stuff. They're kind of like a mega version of what I have, but it's all in house. It's also a nonprofit. And talked to them today and trying to partner with those like walk-in mental health places that can refer you people to help, and then like introducing yourself at like Rotary clubs and VAs, VFWs, AMVETS, getting involved with them and trying to offer your services to them. But again, I mean, there's a lot of prideful people in the VFW and AMVETS. I don't have a lot of Vietnam vets that want to go sailing. They're like, yeah, you can shove that in the sock, buddy. So we'll do what we can and move on from there. But also, I know you talked about the VA on a couple of your shows, but like the VFW and AMVETS, and also at least counties in Ohio. I don't know about Texas, and I know Florida is different from what Sergeant Rob said, but the VFW and AMVETS and American Legion all have representatives to help people through the VA process outside of the VA rep. And sometimes it's good if you just talk to them and see who can help you the most. I'm a big fan of the AMVETS, and I know people like the Legion too. And the VFW and DAV, the Disabled Veterans Association, is also a big organization. Really helps with job placement and stuff. And that's how Disabled Veterans is how I met the recruiter for my job, John R. Jurgensen in Valley Asphalt. Met him at the DAV convention at the Bengals Stadium. A year later, they posted the position that I'm in asphalt sales, and I was like, hey, I'd really like to do that. And they're like, hey, that's great. Come on down for an interview. And I ended up getting the job. So thanks to the DAV.
Yeah, they do have some events here in Houston. Usually they have car shows, and that's the ones that I go support. I took a couple of my cars up there. What they do, they help like homeless veterans with housing.
Yeah.
They help them get back on their feet. They give them, a couple of leads so they can land a job. On one of the last events that we went to, one of the guys, a homeless veteran, talked about his experience. He was homeless. He reached out to them. They provide housing for him. He ended up cleaning up.
Do you know?
Was that?
Was he single or did he have a family? Do you know?
I think he was single.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he was single, and he ended up landing a job cleaning up, and now he offered his time to them, and he goes talks, and it's nice. It's nice to see when these other veterans helping veterans, and then
Yeah.
when you get that experience, that guy coming out and talk about the experience, what he went through, and what they did for him is really nice, because sometimes I feel like I like donating a lot, not just my time, but like I say, I enjoy taking out my cars. So when
Yeah.
they're like, "Hey, we got an event. Yeah, you think you can bring a couple of cars?" Hell yeah, I'm over there. And I like going or taking the cars, giving donations. But whenever I see where the money is going to, I feel even better
Yeah.
because I know it's like anything. It's some. some companies, some non-profits that do help people, some other ones that not really. And these days, it's like you don't even know what to do anymore.
Hmm.
So it's like, uh, when was it when the Warriors first started? You
Oh
know,
yeah,
my dad was donating quite a bit of money to them,
they had some nice
and
parties.
was that?
They had some killer Christmas parties I saw.
Yeah, so it's like well, he was donating quite a bit of money, and whenever they came out to the news, it's like it's the last time I donated my money to any other organization. So now what we do is St. Jude hospitals and
Yeah, that's good.
cancer research centers. That's where money goes. But it's like whenever it's something veteran related, I'm always like being there. Now what I do is sometimes you cannot even look like you look up the companies, but you really cannot find anything. Like I don't know, it's crazy. So now I'm iffy.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what.
like, they should all be registered on like Candid. The Candid, I think, is the name of that website. I had to put like my all my information in, and then like I have a spreadsheet that I track all my expenses and income and donations on. That like somebody asked for it, I can send it to you. But yeah, it's really hard to find a an organization that's transparent. But Candid is supposed to be the website that nonprofits are registered on, and you get like a Candid rating, and it says that you're spending so much money. Like I'm not in a paid position at Big Time Faith. I spend like some of my personal money like on Facebook ads because I don't know if anybody knows that we got a golf outing coming up or what. So I'm like, I'll just spend $60-$70 and put an ad out there, and then I accidentally target the whole United States instead of like the Dayton, Ohio area. So it's all learning, as you know,
Yeah.
about how to grow this stuff. But yeah,
Now that is good. I think this connecting right here will be good. Now I can put you up like through the videos,
yeah,
promote your nonprofit through. We might have like 6, 8 people watching, but hopefully one day we get big.
yeah,
We gotta start somewhere.
yeah.
Uh,
No, this has been great. I appreciate you having me on. I think you're doing a great job talking to everybody. Don't be so hard on yourself. I think you're doing fantastic with it, even though you say you're just learning.
Yeah, no, well, you're the reason why, I'm trying to expand like Spotify. I'm glad, look, I listen to people when they ask, I just don't know how to do many things like, man, computers, I'm really not that good. So it's like, I'm
They
learning,
change
like,
constantly. Just leave them alone.
yeah, right. So it's like, I'm trying to do my best, to be honest with you. Right now, yeah, I've been investing a little bit of money into this, but I think at the end of the day, it's worth it because it helps me bring people like you, so y'all can talk about what you're doing. It helps me catch up with other people that we serve
Yeah,
together. It's like, it's nice. It's really nice. So I feel like I'm not just helping people, but I'm helping myself in a way, by being able to talk to you, being able to get this. This is my therapy session right
yeah,
here
yeah. That's
on the
good.
week on the weekly basis. James Finnegan, it will work itself out, Jimmy.
Yeah, that's what I always used to say. Lieutenant Ella Dewey took my spot and he put it above the door. My grandpa always said that, the guy that got the DUI in World War II. But it always drive my dad crazy because my dad's a warrior. But Grandpa Bailey would always be like, it'll work itself out. Who cares? So I started saying that a lot, instead of getting worked up about like all the stupid stuff you could get worked up about, like in the army, people get wrapped around the axle about stupid stuff. I'm like, yeah, it'll be fine. Who
Yeah,
cares about?
one of the things that I learned is like, why get mad?
Yeah.
At the beginning, I would be like, man, like ready to kill somebody, like super mad. But he's like, why get mad?
Are you calmer now than you were before? Or I feel
In a
like
way, in a way, I am. Trying to keep it in check. But it's like at the end of the day, I'm getting older.
is Joe
I
Cardino
cannot.
on that? No, no comment.
Oh,
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I'm getting older. I don't want to be, I don't want to be a knucklehead my whole life. And just doing this, I have to. I
Yeah.
have to because I cannot be acting a fool having my face on something like this.
Right.
So is so now I gotta watch what I said sometimes. Well,
Represent.
not I really don't watch what I said. I'm not a lie. Yeah, I'm the same guy. I'm gonna speak my mind.
That's good.
It is what it is. What did you say? It depends on how his day went. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Well, I complain to her though. It's different. Behind doors is different.
Yeah.
Because I get here like, man. Yeah. So your nonprofit, it doesn't reach just you. You say you got people in Texas. So
No,
how do
so
people?
that's the Fallen Outdoors.
Okay.
Um, so if you look up the Fallen Outdoors, that nonprofit has people in Texas. So that's
Okay. Okay. Okay.
hunters and fishermen and outdoorsmen. They have people from their nonprofit in Texas. Um, I do not. I'm just like Dayton, and it's just like me and Brian Shell and my therapist and the treasurer at Eaton City Schools. So it's just like four of us. And my wife.
Okay. Hey, that's so. So, what do you? How do your wife feel about what you're doing?
She thinks it's great, and sometimes I get bogged down. I don't have patience. Like I want things to like go from like 0 to 100 and be great immediately. Um, and I don't have a lot of patience. But like I think like a couple weeks ago, I was like, man, I should just like be done with it. It's too much. It's too much work because I'm working like selling. I'm working my regular job and then trying to do the nonprofit with it, and then have a family. And I was just like, man, I don't know if I got the time and energy to put into it if people aren't wanting to, be a part of it. But I need to realize it, keep it to scale, and do what I can with it when I can, and then when God wants it to grow, it'll grow, and then it'll all work itself out.
Yeah. Do you still keep in touch with people from the troop that you
Hmm.
serve with?
Yeah, yeah, like Finnegan. I text Finnegan and Ella Dewey and let's see who else I saw. Sergeant Graves. I stopped and saw Sergeant Graves and Lieutenant Ella Dewey. I think last year we were going to Florida and we stopped and like ate dinner with them because they both live in Savannah. I don't know where they live, somewhere in the South. I was like, hey, we're coming through. We're going to Disney. So we met up with them. Talked to Finnegan. Talked to like Eisel and Watts from the reserves quite a bit. Talked to Joe Capon. I'll text Joe Capon stuff about Capon doing jiu-jitsu or hunting or shooting a dove with my kid's name's Capon.
Okay.
Yeah, my son is. I named him after. I told Joe Capon, I was like, I'm gonna name my kid after you, and he, obviously thought I was joking, but I did it.
Now, to be honest with you, Sergeant Capon is one of the guys that he gives you that respect whenever you see him.
Yeah,
Serving with him in Afghanistan, he was one of the NCOs that you can tell that had a lot of experience, but he was not one of them that liked to brag about it. He will be always humble, but he was, whenever he talks, you listen
yeah,
because every time that he talks, he's teaching you something. Pay attention to what he's saying.
yeah.
So it's like that's one of the things that I got from him because he was always like, trying to teach you something, trying to better yourself. So
Right.
yeah, I respect that guy a lot. I was for about 6 months with him in Afghanistan. Cap
Okay.
Durrani. Yeah, good guy.
Yeah, for sure. And Lieutenant Manning, I had Lieutenant Manning helping me with homework like last year or the year before. I was trying to do something for like a master's degree and got stuck on a math problem. Kyle's super smart and I was like, hey, I have no idea what this is talking about. And he's like, oh hey, we're gonna do it like this, and then I think this is how it worked out. And that big Southern twang drawl that he has hasn't changed a bit except for he's got a big beard.
On the nonprofit, well, what are you trying to do to? You say you want to grow it for people right now. Are you doing anything to bring more people in with you?
I ask people, and then I'll ask. people that we sponsor, like if they have like a high energy spouse, I'm like, hey, what about your wife being involved in the board? Somebody that can really help push and drive ideas, just so my brain doesn't get burnt out on trying to do everything, trying to bring in like high energy people. So that's how I'm trying to grow it. And just like I'll go to like this hospital has this Give Connect Receive event, and it has all these mental health agencies from like 5 counties around the Dayton area, and they're all there, and they donate stuff, and we all introduce ourselves and talk about what we do, and people seem super interested in it. And I try to get out and when I can, like talk to like um, county and city representatives and talk about like what we do and the good, and then try to show it and do like student spotlights. Um, Gina's a healthcare worker that does yoga at Asuka Yoga in Inglewood through us, and she was kind enough to answer some questions, but didn't want to do a video, but just trying to get the word out of what we do through Facebook, which not everybody's on,
Yeah.
and try to figure out how to get that across, and then trying to do like I'll send out like news releases to like the Dayton Daily News, and they're just giving me the Kyle Manning cold shoulder and ghosting me. So I'll send out one to a smaller paper tonight. I did, and we'll see if they respond to that, and just to talk to them about what we're doing and spread the good word, and maybe it'll inspire somebody to help. So that's how we hooked up with like the Hueston Sailing Association. They're like, oh, that's really cool. We have a sailing association does this introduction to sailing. Maybe we can, work together on that, and that's how we'll help Big Time Faith. So that's a new program that we haven't done yet, that we just started. So, but we got.
Oh, you're just talking about it right now.
Yeah. So we just got to get people. Now I got to get people to come do the sailing. Like I got the sailing lined up, but now we need people to do it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, everything that we
Man,
do is centered around the Dayton, Ohio region, for Big Time Faith. And there's some other nonprofits that I'll send you that are nationwide.
what would be ways that they can help you?
Donations are always great. To fund money for the programs, like I think like what was it, like $1,200 maybe for a year of yoga. $100 is a round of golf. That's something that's overlooked. Like or you could take a veteran or a first responder, nurse golfing, or and do that on your own. You don't even have to be through Big Time Faith. But otherwise, just like if you have something you enjoy, like you like doing cars, and like have like a veteran out, like, hey, we're going to host this veteran or first responder nurse out to Cardenas Garage, and they're going to work on this car with us. We're going to show them how to do X, Y, and Z on this automobile restoration, because you find, automobile restoration and fixing up cars is therapeutic, right?
Stressful and therapeutic at the same time.
Yeah. So like to maybe like teach somebody, that would be a good way to give back, and it would be part of like the program. And then I think like even down the road, like doing like agricultural projects and like having people do agricultural therapy, getting your hands dirty, and like maybe like kind of homesteading or learning how to farm, physical labor.
You just talk about golfing. The only reason why I kick back in because of my neighbor. It's a lot of people that gotta have a membership to different clubs. Have you tried to talk to them like, hey, this is what I'm doing. I would like to see if one day you will be able to bring a guest with you.
Yeah,
And
not yet. I'm not there yet, but yeah, that's the kind of stuff like that we're putting out and try to get people to think of how they could help. And that's a big thing that I push when I speak to like Rotary clubs about our group is, what do you do that you think you enjoy that helps you relax? Okay, you got that in your head? Well, that's something that you could share that experience with somebody in our program. And usually you'd think golfing would come to mind for a lot of people, but I think people really have trouble visualizing that. But I think so for me, I think the next step is to get to know everybody I interact with better, and then tie them to that, like tie your neighbor to golfing. Like I have to be deliberate and intentional about that.
I got you. Um, man, that and it is crazy to try to get to know everybody.
Yeah,
How do
until
you
we
pick?
grow enough,
How do,
and then it'll take on its own thing. Like, oh, you should do that through Big Time Faith. And then, like, if you go golfing so many times a year, you can write that off. Like we golf through Big Time Faith with a veteran or a first responder.
how do you select the people? Do you select people? They come out to you. How does that work?
That's something we struggle with. So sometimes like I'll seek people out, but a lot of times like introducing myself to partnerships like at the gyms or the yoga studios or other places, like they might have somebody in mind. I've been trying to recruit people through the local AMVETS and VFWs and get them to like, oh, hey, I think some so and so would like that, so we'll have them reach out and contact you, James, or talking to the local fire department, police station, putting that information out there, like, hey, we got this sailing stuff coming up or golf or whatever. Do you guys have anybody at your station, firehouse or police or VFW club that would be interested in this recreational therapy that we're doing, whether it be golfing or sailing or hunting?
So if somebody wants to reach out to you, how can they reach out to you? Like, hey,
Reach out to us through Facebook or our website at www.bigtimefaith.com or .org. Sorry, is that enough W's? Sometimes
I guess so.
W's.
So, man, sir, it's been amazing talking to you.
Yeah,
It's
same
really
here.
good catching up. Uh,
We
I
didn't even
love
talk
what you
about getting
do.
those goats that shit all over the
Oh
back
man,
of
what's
the
going
parking
on with
spot.
those goats? Come on.
Yeah,
Where's the goat pic? You sent it to me on an email, right?
I think I
Did
sent it
you?
Messenger,
On the
but
phone?
yeah, I just could have sworn I had a picture of me and you with those goats for that Op 4
I
training.
I think I put it on the. I
Yeah,
think I
on the
put it on
Facebook
Instagram.
page.
Let me see. No, we
The
did put
guy that's
the picture up.
friend's name.
Let me see. Community. There it goes. People gotta see the picture before. There it
You
goes.
remember going to the farm to get those goats?
I remember the goats, but I don't remember going to get them.
Because you were
I
driving me as the
I
Troop XO to
I
get those
do
goats.
remember. I do remember first time being pissed because it was shit everywhere in the back of the Humvee.
Yeah,
But it's like now that's what I was asking. Like, man, what do you use these goats for? But yeah, hey, it's like anything. I tell people the military was not always bad. Like it was. I think we got fun memories from me in there.
yeah.
Sometimes it's like I guess, man, sucking. Uh, that feeling that oh man, I gotta do this shit again. Here it goes. We got the goat today with us.
Yeah. Well, hey, thanks so much for having me. I'll send you all that information and stuff.
Yeah. Again, anything you want to say before we get out of here?
I hope it'll all work itself out.